Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Career Lab Wednesday. I am your host, George Miller, and we are going live here on YouTube and on LinkedIn Live. So, welcome to Career Lab Wednesday. And there's a few things that I will share as we are getting started here. There's a couple ways to engage with me. You can type your questions into the comment section. Go ahead and type your questions into the comment section if you're viewing on LinkedIn Live or on YouTube. And if you can, I love it when you jump in directly here on Zoom. If you can do that, you can come off mute at any time or type into the chat section here and let me know what questions you have. So when you have questions and you're typing them in and I'm responding, I love it when you give me more info. If you let me know if I'm on track with you, if what I'm saying is relating to you and what you're wanting help with. Because my primary goal here is to support you in your career development. So any question that you have is great. Any question, it doesn't have to do with the topic. If you have a question about some piece of technology, resume writing, interviewing, even stuff about just what do you want? What do you want out of your job? Stuff like that. Anything is on the table here. Anything career related is on the table. Feel free to ask. I enjoy coming into these with an idea of what I'm going to talk about, but I really enjoy hearing from you and playing the game of best trying to address your questions and concerns. I have a lot of fun doing that. So, want to say anything that's on your heart, please ask. You can do that again in the comment section, or you can jump in here on Zoom. So, I'll be checking back with people as we're getting going here and saying some of these things again. But I'm going to dive right into a couple questions that people asked over the week. So we had some people following up from last week's topic, and they had questions about that, about some of the things that we addressed there. So I want to jump right into that. So the first question that I want to look at is we were talking about the personality assessments that are out there. So there's a lot of personality assessments. I recommend using them. They're great. They've helped me. DISC has been useful for me, the Enneagram. And my personal favorite is the one that I have worked on a significant amount. It's the CARE personality assessment. If you do it, you'll see that it relates to all the other personality assessments you've done. That one, we'll go ahead and throw the link to that in here. You can take that assessment for free and watch a video about how to identify other personality styles and how to shift your style so that you can be a more effective communicator with other people who speak a different personality language. So anyway, I said all that to say that the question that I'm starting off with is about somebody who is working with managing. And so their question was, how do we use the results of personality assessments to respond to uncooperative people who are unable to analyze or assess given circumstances? And what I'll say about this is unable to analyze it. First, I'm going to point out the questions. An issue I see with that question. The issue I see with how to respond to uncooperative people who are unable to analyze or assess a given circumstance. So I tend to say that everybody is capable. So what I don't like about that question is it's probably not specific enough. They are likely able to assess things and come up with creative solutions, but they may need data that they're not getting. They may need some help. They may need some support that they're not currently getting. And And so that is a very useful way to use the CARE personality assessment. Is welcome. Glad you can be joining in. I think this might actually be your question, so let me know if I'm on point with this. So the way to use the CARE personality assessment, and any personality assessment for that matter, is to understand what matters to other people. Understand what is really important. So the model that we use of somebody who makes decisions based on the social feeling of the group, somebody who makes decisions based on data and making sure they have all the correct answers, somebody who makes sure that they are making decisions based on getting results. We need to drive things. Good afternoon, welcome. And the last category is somebody who makes decisions based on what's fun, exciting, and creating things, stepping into what's possible. So these four things, it's a very deep rooted thing for each one of us, is what's really important to us. So I'm somebody who likes to make decisions based on what's exciting and fun and possible. I'm an energizer personality type. And so I like things that are cool and on the edge and all of that. You can tend to tell energizer types by the colors and the things that we wear. So now, if I'm talking to an analyzer, somebody who makes decisions based on all the facts and needing to make sure that there's not mistakes happening, well, if I'm trying to tell them, hey, this is so cool, fun, and exciting, they don't care, or they don't care in the same kind of way that I do. And so it's ineffective. And then I will tend to get my feelings hurt, and I'll be like, geez, they're so mean. They don't like me. And it has nothing to do with that, really. It's that we have different personality styles. And what I need to do, what I can do to be more effective, is take responsibility for the way that I am, and then make the bridge over to another person, and to take responsibility for the discomfort that I might feel. To say, hey, they are not affirming me in the ways that I like to be affirmed, but you know what? They weren't put here on earth to affirm me. And so I'm going to figure out how to interact and shift how I'm speaking so that I can move things forward more effectively. So that's a quick shot at the question about using personality styles and understanding other personality styles to be able to respond more effectively with uncooperative people. So uncooperative people, there are people who have hangups. In fact, we all do. We all have unfinished business from growing up in an imperfect world. And so, I will not be cooperative with things. But it's not coming from a place of like, I really want to hurt you and make your job hard. It's more coming from a place of, I'm seeking to be understood. And so if I'm able to recognize, if I'm managing somebody and they are being uncooperative, and if I'm able to see what is going on kind of on a deeper level with them, and I can speak to the part of them that is trying to grow and develop and trying to be recognized, that's going to usually be more effective than just telling them that they are a pain in the butt. However, sometimes that's going to work too. It really depends about the relationship. So with that, I'm going to tie that into this week's topic. This week's topic is all about why emotional intelligence is so important in your career. So, how to advance in your career with EQ. This is huge. Because all these questions, if we look at it, it has to do with the relationship that I have. People say don't take things personally. Well, that's good to some degree. You know, it's good for me to not assume that everybody is like out to put me down and all of that kind of stuff. However, relationships are personal. And so my relationship with my manager, my boss, my team, my employees, it is personal. I'm a human being and they are human beings, and there's a personal connection there. And so if I don't have a solid relationship, or if I'm not growing a relationship with the people I'm collaborating with, we're not going to go as far as we could. So emotional intelligence is the critical thing to career advancement. So if you are looking to change jobs or looking to level up in your current company, same thing. What matters is how you do it, what the relationship is like that with your team or with the people that you are interviewing with. Working with many people who are leaving their company, going to a new place, wanting help with that transition. A key thing is to maintain the relationship with the team that you're leaving. Because spiritually, if you look at it, at the end of my life, I want to say, you know what, I did right by people, and I kept strong connections, and people, you know, knew that I was trustworthy with them. And so that's something that's important to me, and that tends to end up working out really well. Because if I'm leaving a company and I do it in kind of a not great way, well, I just lost a bunch of recommendations. And now there's that kind of part in my history that I have to kind of deal with going forward, that's I don't feel so good about. And so that's going to have me starting to decrease my level of authenticity with the people that I'm interacting with currently and going forward. So this is big stuff. This is important to career development, is having strong relationships. And sometimes when leaving a company, it may be learning how to say, you know, like the company is going in a direction that I'm not interested in contributing to. It's not, you know, it's this part of it isn't personal, other than this I want my growth to go this way and the company is going this way. You know, or I think I could make a lot more money somewhere else, and I don't see me being able to impact this business here in a way that's really going to create the environment that I want, where I could be making the kind of money I want. So I see the opportunity over here. That's important stuff for a business owner to hear. That's important stuff for your boss to hear. Because if that's true for you, that's true for a lot of people. And it can help bring to the forefront for them stuff that they might want to work on. So anyway, that's the underlying thing with career advancement, is your relationship with your bosses, with your team, with the people that you are in contact with. Okay, so that's today's topic. We're a quarter of the way in, so I want to say to everybody who's just joining in, or who wasn't at the beginning, there's a few ways that you can join in. I love it when you jump in directly on Zoom. I can work with you one-to-one that way. If you can't, you can type your questions into the comment section and I'll do my best to get to those. Now I'm getting questions coming in here, so I'm going to jump on over to those. But please be putting yours in. If I don't get to them now, I will hopefully be able to get to them next week. So 2 people recently asked to write recommendations on Facebook for them and also writing letters of recommendation for another. Can you talk about the best way to do that and what should be included? That's a great question. So, first of all, congratulations. Congratulations for being a secure base, a more knowledgeable other, a trusted advisor. When somebody comes to you asking for you to write them a recommendation, that's a big compliment. So congratulations on people reaching out to you asking for that. And it's a great question that you're bringing in because yeah, you want to do it well. It's a very meaningful thing to do for other people. So one of the things that I do when somebody asks me to write them a recommendation is I'll ask them, what specifically do you want me to acknowledge you for? Sometimes if they are applying for a certain kind of job, they're going to say, you know what? I would love it if you highlighted these skills of mine. And in fact, I actually have a template that I use when I'm asking for recommendations because I send it out and I say, here's some key things that could get you going. You know, as a coach, like what are the ways that your life changed when you were working with me? What are the things that you realized about yourself in a coaching relationship? What are some of the qualities about me, George Miller, that you really appreciated in coaching? So I'll actually help people. I'll take some of the white off the page for them so that they have some directionality. So if somebody reaches out to me asking for a recommendation, if I don't have a good sense of what they want in the recommendation, I'll just ask them. Now, if they're applying for a job in an industry that I know and it's like I know what they're wanting from that recommendation, I'll just write it up. In fact, because I got another question about resources to use in terms of a technology to help things in resume writing and in recommendation writing. One of the things I do is I use ChatGPT. Now, when we talk about using robots, it's really important to understand that they are a tool, that they're not going to have the authentic voice of you, but they can help get white off the page. So what I do is I pick up my phone. Oh, you can see me, I was like looking around for my phone. That's right, it's charging. So what I do is I pick up my phone and I send myself a text message. So I speak out what I'm saying, why I'm recommending somebody. I send that in a text message to myself. I copy that, I throw it into ChatGPT, and I say, turn this into a recommendation. So I do that, and then I read back through it because ChatGPT tends to put in a bunch of stupid flowery stuff that, like, yeah, I don't know, kind of makes me cringe. And maybe it would be good and effective, I don't know, but I'm uncomfortable with it. So I then go in and I just cut that stuff out, and I trim off what I don't think is essential, and then I read it back to myself, and I'm like, is this good? Is this what I would want somebody to be saying about me? And then I'll send that to the person. I'll say, what do you think of this? Is this a recommendation you'd like to use? So I take these very, very seriously. I think that, and oh, it's great. Actually, it's right on point in advancing in your career and how to use emotional intelligence. This thing about paying attention to myself, my feelings, my wants, my needs, and asking others to help me with that. So it takes an awareness of myself, what's important to me, and then the social intelligence part. Okay, now engaging with other people. This is one step in my career development? Oh, I love this question. Thank you for asking about recommendations. It's really important. And you can see how emotional intelligence is right at the heart of this. This is about developing long-term relationships in my life. And so it's so worth the time and the intention to do it well. So great question. So again, what I do is I make sure that what I'm putting into the recommendation is something that's really serving the person who's asking for it. Now, another side of this is I say what's true. I don't make stuff up. I'm not gonna, if somebody isn't good at one thing and they're applying for a job where like that's a needed thing, I would tell them that. I would say, you know what? I can say this in the recommendation for you. I can point out your skills and assets in these areas. When I wonder about this thing that you're applying for, I won't say anything about that because I don't know that that's really where your skills are at. And so I will give people honest feedback about it too. So again, at the heart of this is the relationship with the person who I am giving a recommendation to. And it is personal in that way. So by doing that, now I'm really serving that person and I'm helping them advance. I'm helping them see themselves better, understand their gifts more, and be able to communicate that more effectively to other people. And this is the heart of emotional intelligence. So fantastic. Hey, welcome. Good to have you joining in. Thank you. Yes. Thank you for appreciating how I connected this to emotional intelligence. So, okay, it sounds like your questions are being answered, that this is working for you. Fantastic. I'm going to circle back real quickly, see if there was anything else that, okay. Oh, yeah. So you were asking about an app that helps in referring and recommendations. There's probably other apps and services that are better than ChatGPT. There's probably things that are more specific. I don't know what those are at this point, but my hunch is just with the amount of services coming out in this space, there's a lot of them. And the core thing about using robots or AI, I like calling them robots because I want to underline that they're not intelligent. It's called artificial intelligence. It's not intelligent. It's a tool. They take a lot of data and they can spit it back to you quickly. But there's not AI does not have emotion. And for conscious human beings, a critical part of the consciousness and of how we come up with ideas and how we communicate is our emotions. The research on this is that if you take out the emotional spot in the brain, if there's a tumor on that or something, that people don't make decisions. So while yes, there can be a whole lot of data, there can be a lot of valuable stuff. There's access to 30, 40 years of internet and information. While that's a handy tool, it's not intelligence. So that's why I like calling them robots. They are useful, but understand that when using robots, you, the conscious human being, needs to look at what the robots are spitting back to you, and you need to make it personal for you. You need to make sure that it is representing who you are as a human. Otherwise, it doesn't matter. Otherwise, it's not going to connect with an audience. It's not going to connect with people. What connects with people is emotion. Emotions are the universal language, not just tons and tons of data. We're at a point where we have like so much information that we don't really know what to do with it. And the thing that ends up mattering is this emotional connection anyway. So, it's both. We need all the information and all that. And the best thing that robots can do in this way is present it in a meaningful way to human beings. So, again, use the technology for your resumes and for helping to write recommendations. It's great stuff. It helps you do it faster, but you have to include yourself in it. Otherwise, it's not going to be effective. It's not going to have the impact that it could have. And it's not going to have you getting to know yourself better, which I think is one of the most important things on this journey of becoming more who we can be in our career. So that's me on my soapbox about that. Take that, robots. All right. So, for resume writing. So asking about using ChatGPT for resume writing. Yeah, you can use it as a tool. Absolutely. The best way that I've found ChatGPT for resume writing is organizational. It's not good at writing bullet points where you're saying what the situation was while you're going into the job, the actions you took, and the results that you got. That's really important, where you're showing, here's the difference that I made in this company. I just share the one about LinkedIn, where I'm working in a coaching organization. I get on LinkedIn, I develop a pipeline and doing Career Lab Wednesday on LinkedIn. And I got this amount of clients over the past however many years that brought in this much income to the organization, into these different programs, etc. Like that kind of thing, learning how to say that in a bottom line way on a bullet point. I don't know of a robot yet that's good at doing that. When that one comes out, I will use it. But at this point, it takes it takes a very personal experience with whatever jobs I've had in the past. In fact, it usually takes a coaching conversation. This is something that clients that I work with, what they get from talking with me is they get a better understanding of the actual value that they created. So human beings, we are valuable. We have value, and it's the actions that we take with the value of ourselves that gets the results. Value plus action gets results. So putting that into bullet points, usually you're going to get the best bullet points if you're talking to somebody else who's going to be able to help you think that through. There's a plug for coaching. So great questions about how to use all these robots that are forming. Thank you. Yeah. Authentically recommend people. Absolutely. That is something that is irreplaceable. As human beings, there'll never be another me, there'll never be another you. And there's a way to really embrace that is nourishing and effective in the workplace. So we're already at halfway through this. Thank you so much for your questions. I want to reiterate to everybody, I love it when you jump in directly on Zoom. If you can't jump in on Zoom, if you're listening in at work or driving or whatever, you can type your questions in. If you're driving, maybe you don't type your questions, but pull over, type your question in. You can put it into the comment section. I will do my best to get to your questions today. If I'm unable to, I will likely bring them into next week's. So, all this being said, is a cooperator analyzer. As a cooperator analyzer. Okay, now I'm going to jump back to the personality assessment. For everybody who's joined in since the beginning of this call, let's throw Jane, go ahead and throw the link to the personality assessment in here again. This is a free tool that you can use. You can take the assessment, learn what your personality style is, and then review the video to see what other people's styles are, how to pick up on what other people's styles are, and learn how to shift how you communicate so that it's like you're speaking their language. It's like, learning how to speak a little bit of Chinese or Russian or Spanish or something, just enough so that you can communicate more effectively, more efficiently with other personality styles. So that video is there. If you're just joining in, take a look at it. So, as a cooperator analyzer, how do you avoid people pleasing? Yee! That's a good question. So, what do you think? So, if you've taken the assessment and you got the results that you are a cooperator analyzer, what that means is that you primarily make decisions based on the social feeling of the group. The analyzer part then is that you make decisions based on data and wanting to make sure that you have the correct answer. So these are gifts, these are skills. It's important to have that. But you can see how that very much turns into people pleasing. So if we take this out and say, if we think through how being a cooperator and an analyzer in groups and how that can actually be detrimental, it might help. So if I am committed to people pleasing, what's going on for the cooperator and the analyzer is that I'm avoiding conflict. I'm trying to make other people happy at my own expense. And if I am avoiding myself and just trying to rescue and make things work for everybody else, we're missing a critical part of that system, which is me. So then I'm now training people to continue taking advantage of me because I'm just doing all this stuff to help them without taking into consideration myself, who again is an important part of this system. So it's important for me as a cooperator. So I'm a energizer cooperator. So I can really relate to this cooperator thing. It's important for me to say, no, I matter. And in fact, I'm aware of all the people and all the feelings in this group in a way that other people probably aren't. And I'm going to hold that flag and I'm going to say, look, in this environment, one of the things that's going on right now is all these different people are having hurt feelings. You know what? I feel hurt about this too. And so now these resentments are building, and there's ways that people are not communicating openly. And I'm bringing this, and I'm afraid to bring it up because this is out of my comfort zone, but whatever, I'm doing it anyway. And something about this needs to change. Here's what I think needs to happen. So you can see there that a very basic way is that I'm style shifting. I'm now turning into more of a regulator. I'm now saying these are the results that I want. And if we're going to get these results, we need to think about the social feeling of the group, because that is a critical component of this that has not been addressed. So it's a both and. So I'm honoring the ways that I'm a cooperator, not throwing that out. If I don't honor that, I'm not going to be effective. Again, it's the emotional intelligence piece. Who am I? What are my feelings about this? And how now do I communicate that effectively with other people? So I'm honoring myself, I'm honoring my personality style, and then I am shifting that. I'm changing my language so that I can more effectively communicate with an energizer and a regulator in this case. So if I'm a cooperator analyzer, I'm going to shift how I communicate with an energizer and a regulator. I'm going to talk about the results. I'm going to say, we want these results, and here is a serious block to these results, is that we're not taking into consideration how people are feeling. And this is there's a lot of research on this. Yeah, people want money at work. Absolutely. But even more than that, for most of us, We want acknowledgement. We want purpose. We want to know that we are part of something greater than ourselves. And so if I'm in an environment where people are not acknowledging progress and saying, wow, George, way to go on that. We really needed that. Thank you so much. If that kind of thing isn't happening, the team's just not going to be as effective. And so if you are a cooperator and you're like, geez, like there's something missing here, pay attention to that. Pay attention to those yearnings, that your needs there, because other people are going to have those too. And that's a way that you can contribute. And then you can say to the regulators and energizers, let's get better results by acknowledging more. It's going to make me feel better. It's going to make the team feel better. We're going to be more productive. And if you need some research on it, I'll go find some for you and share it with you. How's that? I'm hoping that this is about the okay. Got it. Okay, so it sounds like this is helping. Yeah, let me know. Let me know if I'm on point with the questions that you're asking. Let me know if I am speaking to the thing that you're wanting addressed. I'm getting some more questions coming in here. Even I was actually told that there were personality discrepancies even though I was a productive employee. I don't know what that means. All right, can you give me more data on that, or more? I was told that there were personality discrepancies. Personality discrepancies. I don't know what that means. It sounds like a bunch of gobbledygook to me, or not real critical feedback. Oh, and but I'll take a guess at it. It's told that there were okay, they just didn't like me. Got it. Um, yeah, when if I get the feedback that people did personality discrepancies, and then I realize what that really means is that they didn't like me, then it's good to look at what didn't they like about me. If they didn't like that I was pointing out things that weren't working, and in saying, hey, we need to address this stuff if we're going to be able to hit the goals that we want. And if they didn't like that, and then it's like, well, I guess I wasn't a good fit there, and they weren't really open and receptive to what the gifts that I see as myself having. That's one side of it. Then the other side of it can also be, you know I wonder if I was how could I have been more effective? How was I direct enough, or was I kind of beating around the bush in how I was communicating? Was I confusing as I was talking to people? I had somebody, a client, I turned down the other day. Somebody wanted help with interviewing, and as we were having the conversation about whether or not they would work with me, I was asking them questions, and I noticed that when I asked them questions, they didn't answer my question. They started telling me a story about something else unrelated to what I just asked, and said, can I give you some feedback about that, about something I'm seeing that we might want to address in interview coaching? And they're like, sure. And I said, I noticed that when I ask a question, you don't answer my question. In fact, you start talking about something else, and I'm having to work pretty hard to be on the same page with you, and I have an assumption that this is something that comes up in interviews, that people are probably asking you a question, and you start to tell them about something, and they don't understand the connection. So I think one of the things that we would work on is making that connection for other people, helping people understand, um, where you're going when you're responding to their questions. And they said to me, "Oh, no, 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 I don't do that." That's absolutely not what's going on in interviews with people. And no, I am very good at answering questions. And I was like, "Oh, okay." And I said to myself inside, I was like, "Well, I kind of for that moment thought like, geez, I might be kind of crazy. Or did I just not experience reality? Or you know what? I don't think that this person's really hearing what I'm saying. And I don't think I'm effective here. And so I'm gonna let this one go." And I said, "You know what? I think just based on this interaction, I don't know that we're a good fit for coaching. Like what I do is I point out what I'm seeing in here and now way with somebody, and that tends to serve people. And I don't know that's I have been successful at that here." And they said, "Yeah, I don't think so either." So that was that. And and so I told this whole story here because it can be important when you realize that people don't like you to understand that there may be ways that I am pushing them away. There may be ways that I'm not really hearing their feedback for me. There may be, clients often will tell me, like, "George, what you just said there doesn't land. That was unhelpful. Like, you don't need to do that again, George." Oh, great. Thank you. Thanks for telling me what didn't work. And that's part of my agreement with people is I try stuff out, and if something doesn't work, tell me. And oftentimes that's helpful for them to learn how to give that kind of feedback to somebody. So, in terms of if you're working and if you got feedback when you were let go or didn't get a job or something, and you knew it was because they didn't like you, it can be really good to look at what is it that they didn't like about you. Getting more information about that. Was it a communication thing? Was it that they didn't know how to get on the same page with you, and they saw you as not being able to get on the same page with them? Because if that's the case, that can be a real area of growth for you. That can be something that you can work on. So I hope that's helpful. Um, you know, Sometimes if an organization is not going to hear the feedback that is going to help them grow, and you've tried it several different ways and it's not happening, well, yeah, probably better idea to go to an environment that's going to be more open, receptive, and able to facilitate your growth further. All right, but I'm seeing some more things in here. I want to check this out. Oh, okay. So I've got a question about tanking at an interview, how to pick myself up and remember that I'm okay and go apply again. Well, that's a fantastic question. Let me know if what I'm saying here is on point with what you're wanting help with in this, but I'll start speaking to that. And again, I'll tie it back to advancing in your career and emotional intelligence, because this is a very important question. How do I pick myself up after making a mistake? The number one is to celebrate the mistake. If I bombed in an interview, one of the best things I can do is say, "Yay, I effed that up. Dang, did I screw that thing up? Way to go, George. Way to make a mistake. Oh, that's a groaner. Way to go. And there's all kinds of research about why celebrating mistakes is so helpful. This is actually touching to me because the truth is that as adults, and a painful truth, but as adults, we don't learn and grow without making mistakes. We have a set way our brains are at a point. We have plasticity. We can change the neural connections in our brain, but the price for that is that there's going to be some pain. It's going to happen through mistakes. So if I really screw something up, I can choose to see that as a learning opportunity. I can claim the mistake and say, I messed it up. Wow, way to go, George. I can do that. Or I could beat the living crap out of myself and say, geez, that's horrible. I'm a horrible person. I should never do that again. Don't go for it again. See what happens when you try to interview at the next level, or see you try to do something you haven't done before, and see you make a mistake, and geez, that must just mean that you are like should only be where you're at. I could do that. In fact, that's a lot of the programming that happens, and that's kind of the MO for a lot of us, is that we stay stuck and we use mistakes as evidence that we can't learn and grow. And that's, I think I got tears about it because it's really painful, and so learning how to just acknowledge how painful it is and to say, God, oh, I messed that one up. Geez, I really wanted that opportunity. Oh man, I wanted that so bad and I made a mistake. Way to go, George. Way to make a mistake. That's the beginning. That's the opening the door to more possibilities. That's the price that we're going to pay for advancing in our careers. We're going to make mistakes. So I hope that, yes, I got it. Yeah. And this is a core thing in emotional intelligence and how important it is to advancing in our careers. If I don't own the pain, if I don't own the hurt, the anger, the upset, the fear of like, oh my gosh, I'm afraid I'm going to do it again. If I don't own that, I'm not going to grow nearly as quickly as I could. I'm not going to advance in my career nearly as quickly as I could. So then I can be with what's so. Then I can really look at, how did I F up in that interview? Geez, it hurts to look at some of the mistakes I made. Way to make them, and ouch, that hurts. And now I have meaningful, valuable data. If I feel the feelings of a mistake, now my body is going to be more alert when I see that mistake coming down the road, when I see that coming towards me in the future. And I can say, okay, I'm going to prepare for the next interview in a way. This is a pattern that I have where I make this kind of mistake. And in order for me to shift this kind of a pattern, I need to be alert to it. And I'm going to be vigilant to addressing this thing in myself. And this is spiritual development in my career. This is me claiming my gifts and owning my mistakes in a way that's so potent and powerful. Is now I'm going to be with the discomfort and I'm going to plan for this in a way that's going to have me be more effective. If I don't acknowledge the hurt and the upset, I won't let this lesson sink in. I'm a freaking warrior and I'm going to let this sink in and I'm going to learn from it and I'm going to use this mistake in a meaningful way. And that physiological response of the hurt and the anger and the fear, that physiological response is going to now wire that deeper in my nervous system so that I can use it better. Because those emotions, remember, are the things that bring in, that allow me to respond to my environment more effectively. So now that I'm allowing myself to feel the hurt of a past screw up, I can now be more alert to that. It actually brings more aliveness into my body instead of me saying, oh, too bad. Oh, that didn't work out. Okay. And numbing myself out so I can actually use the pain and the discomfort for more aliveness, more engagement, and more connection with myself and with the people who are interviewing me. All right. Oh my goodness. We are coming up on the end of our hour here today. So welcome, folks who are just joining in. Glad that this is helping. Welcome. Hey, Mo, good to have you. We've got just a few minutes left before we wrap up today. Mo, is there anything that you want support with today? Anything in specific?
No, thank you so much. Actually, I was listening on LinkedIn, but I just joined with Zoom. It was hit on the nail again.
Yes. Good,
Especially
good.
managing people are not manageable, or coaching clients are not coachable.
Oh, good. Yes. Now, the wonderful thing about my job is that if someone's going to be really uncoachable, well, then we're not going to go forward because that's what I am, is I'm a coach. So it's just not going to work. As a manager, when if there's somebody who's not open to learning and growing, the cool thing about it is that you've got more time and more ways to get to know the person you're managing. You've got a relationship already just by way of being in that organization. And I'll say this before wrapping up today, is that when managing, this is a core thing. I'm so glad I thought of it now. I didn't say it earlier. You've already got the relationship. So now what you can do is really deepen that relationship. Get to know the people you are managing. Get to know what matters to them. Get to know them personally. Get to know what they care about, their families, their loved ones, their hobbies, that kind of thing. Get to know that stuff. As you do that, that's going to open up the pathway for them to be more receptive to you as a leader. This is so basic. And you look at all great leaders, and they do this. I was listening to that thing, Tim Walls' students talk about him and say, like, yeah, I'm endorsing this guy as vice president, as a pick here, because he was always asking about me, my family, my loved ones, and checking in with me on how I was doing in a certain class, how I was doing in my career. And he was remembering specific things about me in my life. And so that just builds so much trust. So as if you're managing people, just as step number one is just start finding out more about them as people. And that's going to help facilitate the work issues. I'm so glad you reminded me of that, Mo. Thank you. And great. Okay, glad that people are getting valuable information here and deeper understanding of ourselves as human beings and the kind of impact that we can make with people. Now, there's one last thing I'm seeing coming in here. So would it be safe to say that people who have high EQ are overthinkers? No, I don't think though that's equivalent. Um, People who have high emotional intelligence are people who have access to all of their core feelings: fear, hurt, anger, sadness, and joy. So, an emotionally intelligent person, there's a difference there between that and intellectual quotient. So IQ comes from intellectual quotient, which is how much access I have to a great amount of information. And emotional intelligence is including the emotional components of that, which is information, by the way. So there's a way that I think EQ, emotional quotient, is actually the foundation for um, intellectual intelligence. So I don't think that it's safe to say that somebody who's high on EQ, emotional intelligence, is an overthinker. In fact, I think people who are overthinking things, I think it's often a strategy to avoid the feelings. I think I was sharing about this last week, but that's part of an issue that we've all had, is that when we're trained to think that there's something wrong with our feelings, when we're trained to think that there's I need to avoid my feelings and I need to kind of hide my feelings from people, what we end up doing is we often end up overthinking. We spend a lot of time trying to get something perfect, trying to say it just right, and at the expense of actually interacting with somebody. And so it can be safer for me to spend a lot of time thinking something through. Jane, you'll see this with me. I'm not even an analyzer, and I overthink stuff all the time. I spend too much time in my head, and I'm learning how to spend more and more time in my body, in touch with my feelings, and using that very valuable information to have more interaction. It's about that again: action, value, I'm valuable, plus action. The more times I take action with different people, that creates results. So no, I think it's different. So yeah, we can shift our personality styles. um you know what? Uh, yeah, we can talk more about that. I'm gonna wrap here. It's time. But actually, there is a longer video that addresses emotional and in intelligence more, and how to understand and interact with other personality styles more. It's a longer video that's on my YouTube page. But let's go ahead and throw that in there, so you don't have to wait until next week. You can get started on that now. And what I'll say is, a practice is, if I am a cooperator analyzer and I'm speaking to a regulator energizer, somebody on the opposite spectrum, talk about results. Get bottom line results. Say, I think we need to do this, this, and this so that we get this result. That's going to help a whole lot. And a very advanced assignment to help with this in a moment to moment way. This is something that I give when somebody is moving into the C-suite and they've gotten the feedback that they need to bottom line more. This is an assignment that I give people, which is to use 3-word sentences, especially when at home, if you've got kids that you're interacting with. Use 3-word sentences. It will force you to get better at bottom lining. It's incredibly uncomfortable. You're going to have all kinds of thoughts like, oh, I don't sound smart. Well, you know what? People don't care if you're smart or not. They care if you're understandable. So that's how I'm going to wrap up today. All right, everybody. I will see you next week. Go forth, get to know yourself better, get to know other people better, and make it a rich, delicious week. Take care, everyone.